Hello and welcome back to another episode of our ALZ weekly series, week 6. And I've slowly grown the number of attendees since last week. So I've managed to get Zach this week. But Matt's away on holiday and Jara's busy with some other bits and pieces. So this week we're going to focus on a couple of questions that we've had coming about our ALZ Bicep implementation, which we've recently revamped, right, Zach? We put it in Bicep and it's on AVM now, which is fantastic. But I think I'll kick off with the first question that we had that came in around it, which was, what if I just want the Bicep AVM modules, not the GitHub or Azure DevOps setup, right? Because obviously as part of our accelerator, you get all of that. You get GitHub or ADO, it configures all of those things. But what about if our customers don't want any of that? They just want an example like repo to go and take code from that stitches modules together and go and deploy it themselves.
Yeah, it's a great question. And along with the accelerator offering both Azure DevOps and GitHub options for deployment, we do have a local deployment built into the accelerator as well that you can utilize, which essentially just keeps the repository local and then uses a variety of different PowerShell scripts to help with the automation aspect. So obviously that is kind of our initial go-to recommendation is to use the accelerator, one of those 3 potential methods. However, you absolutely have the complete flexibility to go to our ALZ Bicep Accelerator repo, which is where we consume the modules for the accelerator. And within there, you can go ahead and grab the actual template files, which are correlate to all the modules that we use. So this is all public as of today. We don't anticipate to actually hide it at all or put it behind a kind of a private repo. So you can go out here and directly consume the modules and the param files as you want, and then incorporate whatever type of automation. If you want to simplify it or make it more kind of digestible from your organization standpoint, feel free to do that. It's completely up to you. We just do recommend to kind of prioritize the accelerator if it does meet your specific scenario.
Yeah, which we know, from experience, right? It meets a lot of customers' needs where they are, and it handles various different scenarios of GitHub configuration or Azure DevOps configuration, like all the runners. So I think, to echo what you've just said, like we do definitely recommend you use the accelerator because we do a lot of good stuff for you and set you up on the best practice path as we see it. But this repo here is sucked in as part of that accelerator process, and more specifically, this templates folder, right? So everything inside of here is what actually gets dumped into your resulting repos at the other end of an accelerator bootstrap. So this is effectively it. So I don't know, maybe if you want to open up that like main.bicep files out, let's just have a little look in here and maybe scan through it. Maybe a couple of zooms in as well for the audience, because seeing this on a mobile screen is going to be fun. So yeah, let's just scroll down. So as you can see, like this is just the standard thing, right? And we're calling the modules, I think, a bit further down. This is all the policy work and the library that's pulled in as well. So you'll obviously need that as well. But yeah, if you copy this file, you could deploy this file as is today, as long as you've got all of the other dependent files in the right place, like the lib, for example, and all the policy definitions. But there's that AVM module, right, that me and you maintain, which does all of the management group stuff, all of the policy stuff, all of the role assignments, all of that stuff is handled in this module. So you could just call this module yourself and stitch it together however you want, right? And that's a reason we wrote it like this, is to not be stuck with this is the way we prescribe it, and then you have to customize and ask us to add features. Sort of like we've given you building blocks. You can choose to do what you like with this. Maybe what about one of the networking modules? I take it that's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, that is pretty much the same type of scenario. So if I go back out of the core directory, core is essentially like your management group hierarchy, and then also the kind of logging and Azure monitoring agent based module. The networking directories contains both the hub networking modules and then also the virtual WAN topology. So you can go into here and then same type of scenario as the other one, where we have both a main.bicep file and then also a main.bicep param file. So again, you can go in and update these. I will say one caveat: if you do end up going with the kind of build your own type scenario for the actual deployment, just be aware that as our own kind of experience of going through and building this stuff out for the accelerator, we've kind of had to kind of go through kind of the things that have caused issues for us. So you have to essentially go through it by yourselves. One of which is having additional retry logic for different modules. Like if there's like a minor issue with the deployment, that it would just need to retry to recreate itself or rerun it successfully. You have to basically implement that yourself. But I mean, obviously you can use our own accelerator as like an example, but just be aware of things like that. You have to kind of work through just to make it more kind of solidified.
But yeah, and I think that's an important note, right? Like if people want to use the modules and stitch together themselves, it's quite complex. Like maybe if you scroll down and show some of the module declarations here and some of the dependencies between it, but we've done all this hard work for you, so it's definitely a good place to start from and maybe tweak and customize from here. Obviously, it's built to be super flexible based on parameter input, so the logic is a little bit maybe over the top for what you need. But actually, if you're just controlling, an accelerator customer wouldn't have to edit these files manually. You would just edit the bicepparam file, right, in this scenario. And I think actually that brings us on nicely to another question which was raised, was like, why are there multiple bicep files and bicepparam files? Like, why didn't we just create one Uber ALZ module that does it all, right? And I think, me and you have obviously, the previous implementation that I started writing and you took over, like that was all split out into separate modules as well. And it's not just we followed the same pattern. Me and you sat down for a long time and thought about how do we shrink the number of modules to, as little as possible, because it's not a pleasant experience for customers to maintain. Like in the old one, you had one for management groups, one for policy definitions, one for policy assignments, right? We have solidified all of those in just to that ALZ empty module.
Correct.
But there's still limitations in ARM, right? Like the 4 meg limit is still real. And I think that's probably our primary reason, right, of still keeping a lot of these separated out into separate files, like the separate bicep files and separate bicepparam files. What is there anything else that you from building this, Zach, there's limits or things that we've had to work around?
Yeah. So yeah, the four by limit is probably the biggest one at this point in time. The other one is the fact that so currently there's a feature coming out in the near future that's currently in experimental, but that one is specific to extendable parameter files. So as of today, we essentially have to have dedicated files for each module. Like you can't have missing parameters. Like each individual module has to have some type of reference to all the parameters within that specific parameter file. With bicep extendable parameters, then we eventually will have the ability to kind of have one parameter file that can be utilized by different bicep files. So that would make it a lot more flexible and like easier to manage, where we could essentially not have to pass in, for instance, each module as of today, we have a param location or a parameter that associates to the location of the regions for which the resources are deployed in. With that extendable parameter feature, we will kind of be able to get away from that and only have a single value that can be used across all the different modules. So yeah, that was one of the other limitations. But yeah, eventually I think we'll get to a little bit more flexibility once that comes out.
Yeah, and I think we also, we wanted to keep them grouped in a sensible manner, right? So you're seeing here, like Hub Networking does group together an awful lot of resources. Like we've got an Azure firewall shown here, but there'll be virtual networks, there'll be subnets, NSGs, bastions, like all of that other stuff, virtual network gateways, express route gateways. They're all in this one file and one declaration. And you would control all of the parameters for those via that bicepparam file. I don't know if you want to click into that, Zach, and just show what it would look like, right? You're only updating these from the accelerator perspective, or if you just copy these files, right, you should only really update this because this is the part that is feeding into that other main.bicep file or the module. So I think, you can certainly take this based on the feedback that we've had today is like, I don't want the accelerator, I just want the stitching together and the code. You can do that, and we've given you options, although we do really recommend the accelerator. And then the reasons for still having, multiple bicep files and multiple bicepparam files is platform limitations mainly. And we're waiting for new features that are constantly being written in Bicep, like extendable params, to bring us more options and more capabilities to be able to condense the number of files that you have to edit and maintain. And, that's probably one of the benefits of us building this is we're constantly looking for improvement and enhancement opportunities, so that we give those updates to you as and when they're available. And obviously, it's important to check back in, because this implementation might look like this today, but to say in 6 months it might look completely different, because we've got a load more features. I know we're working on some stuff with the PGs around the retry logic and trying to improve that, right? And that's something that's hopefully going to come pretty soon. So we should see some massive improvements there as well soon. And I think I would also recommend, I don't know about you, Zach, but I certainly try and attend the Bicep community call that's on pretty much every month.
100%.
Like, it's an easy way of staying up to date with what's going on, and also a really good forum to like log an issue, get it spoken about by the product group. Like, they do a call for like questions every month, so you can get that in there. I'll be honest, like me and you probably attend that and probably get the updates just as fast as we hear about them from internal sources, right? Like, that's the source of truth as far as I'm concerned. Everybody attends it, whether you're internal, external, partners, whatever. That is the place to get the latest on what's going on in Bicep. And then we take it from there and bring it back into the ALZ world and see how we can use those features.
Exactly. It's a great forum to bring up your questions. And if you don't feel comfortable talking on the mic, you can obviously put it into the team chat, and they're great about making sure that everybody gets their questions answered, or at least gets them to a place where they can kind of submit their feedback. So highly recommend joining those community calls.
Yeah, they're awesome. So yeah, definitely recommend however you want to get involved, and do check us out. They're also on YouTube as well. So if you go and look for like Bicep monthly community call, you should find it. They're in the Azure deployments and governance YouTube channel. So go and check those out. I'll leave a link in the description for those, so you can find them. But hopefully that's answered some of those questions that people have had. There is reason to our madness, I think, is probably the answer, like the way we have done it. But yeah, as always, keep your feedback coming and throw us issues via aka.ms/ALZ/issues. And one thing we were actually triaging earlier this week as a group, and I would say we've had, I don't know, maybe 10 issues come in this week of like feature requests and bugs and like odd bits and pieces, right? And we triage twice a week as a group, just to sort of make sure that we're staying on top of stuff. There were probably 50% of issues this week that the person who raised the issue also said what the fix was in the issue. And we all sat there and went, what's stopping you doing the next bit and being awesome and creating a pull request to help us, right? So creating the issue is great. We really value you letting us know, and don't stop doing that. But if you can go the next step and create a pull request, which all of you should be able to do, fork the repo, create a pull request, create a new branch, create a pull request for the fix that you're proposing, that helps us get things out so much faster. We'll still review it, we'll still look at it, but you imagine if we're just looking at an issue and we've got to start from ground zero. If you've given us like an example of a fix and it's pretty close, that's going to take us so much more less time to get that out. So I think our call to action for all of you this week is, if you raise an issue and you have got the fix, go that next mile and create a pull request. And also that'll put your name on the repo as a little contributor. So you can always say you've contributed to the project, which is always nice to say. So Zach will appreciate that. I'll appreciate that. And so will Matt and Jared. So please, please, please go that extra mile and create those pull requests. We'll always try and work with you as much as we can to make sure we merge your pull requests. So don't feel like you're going to waste it in vain and it won't get merged. Like, we'll do everything we can to merge that one. So yeah, that's my ask. But anything to close out from you, Zach?
No, I think you ended it on a great note. So all good on my end.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. And yeah, if you've got any more questions, aka.ms/ALZ/questions. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks all.
Thanks all. Bye.